More recently, sort of mid-2000s, we unfortunately lost my husband's mum, which was a very sad time for all of our family. And as per usual, my mum and dad are there at the forefront trying to support and help as much as they could. I suppose you feel sort of a bit useless in those sorts of situations, and you know, my dad's trying to sort of give Dave advice on things and try and sort of console him as best he can. And my mum's there saying, right, I'll do the buffet for the week, and you know, just trying to take the pressures off us as much as they can really, and just trying to support us. We'd had a few bad months over that year, and my mum and dad were always there for us throughout that year. And then the turning point was I then became pregnant with our first child, Kitty, Catherine, named after my mum's mum, my nana. We always knew she was going to be a Catherine. We always knew that we'd be calling her Kitty for short, because that's what my nana was called. And my mum said, oh, without a doubt, I'll be calling her Kitty. And we had Kitty in the November 2006. I get all the dates mixed up. November 2006. And my mum was just beside herself when she saw Kitty for the first time. I think Kitty was a few hours old, and the two of them are inseparable. They're like best friends. She's a clone of my mum. She's absolutely my mum. As long as she's walking on this earth, my mum will always be with us. Everything she does, everything she says, she's my mum. She's like a little old woman. She'll have a good chat with you. She'll sing all the old songs for you. Oh Johnny, Babyface, Let Me Call You Sweetheart, whatever it is, she will sing it, because my mum's been here teaching her how to do the dance and how to sing the song. And the things she comes out with are just so funny. She has all my mum's sayings, all my mum's mannerisms, and as I say, the two of them are like best friends. And then 18 months later, we had my gorgeous little son, Joseph Samuel. And again, my mum was beside herself. In fact, my mum and dad were away when Joseph was born. And I remember panicking, thinking, oh, they're away. And they only came back on the Sunday night, and I'd had Joseph early hours Saturday morning. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't want them panicking coming home. I don't want them panicking coming home and, you know, anything happening to them. So, again, as soon as they saw Joseph, they fell in love with him just as much as they did with Kitty. They're the most fantastic grandparents. They're like a yin and yang of grandparenting, I think. My dad just likes to wind them up a lot. He'll have a good play with them. My mum just mollycoddles them, gives them sweets left, right and centre. She has this big bowl in the house, and they just go and help themselves, and they know they're at the nana's house because they can do that. And as I said before, they've just done so much in supporting Dave and I, especially in the fact that we don't have Dave's mum here to support our children. But they've just done so much to support Dave and I as parents that I actually don't know for the last 4 years what we would have done without them, really. And seeing them as grandparents and having that time that probably they didn't get when we were children, making up for all that time because of all the hours that they had to work when we were children. It's fantastic to see. It's really brilliant to see, and they're such a big part of the children's lives. So I don't know how we can thank you enough for that, really, and the kids as well, really. They just love you both to bits. More recently, another biggest memory of me and Mum being best friends. It's a couple of years ago now, and I paid for Tina Turner tickets for Mum and Dad to go, but my dad was away, unfortunately. Fortunately for me, he was away, because then I got to go with my mum. And we went to Manchester and we had a fantastic meal. We went to one of the sushi restaurants in Manchester, and then we went off to see Tina Turner afterwards, and it was just magical. And I remember listening to all these songs that I listened to with my mum when I was growing up in the 80s, that my mum used to listen to on the audio cassette in the car and singing away to them. And I remember just sitting there and just looking at my mum and getting really quite emotional and filling up and thinking, this is like a really big thing that I'm now sat with my mum watching a living legend who we've always listened to from growing up, singing live for us. And I felt she was singing for us. She was singing for us, Rita, wasn't she? But that's a big memory that I'll never forget, because that's me and my mum as best friends. Just linking arms, and probably she'd start singing Mary and She with me like she used to when we used to go shopping, but that's one of my biggest memories as well of late.